and a very interesting one at that.
And we can see going into this match that Ashton is bringing the same team. They are on the wrong side, and we will get that fixed as soon as possible. However, we can see Ashton is once again bringing a very similar, if not the same team that he brought to the Brazil International Championship with Tapu Lele, Lilligant, Pheromosa, Snorlax, Torkoal, and Mimikyu against Mirab's on the right side team of Nihilego, Tapu Lele, Garchomp, Smeargle, Arcanine, and Pheromosa.
So, one thing I want to talk about is Ashton's weather, of course. The weather is such a powerful tool, especially with Lilligant, right? So Lilligant gets that chlorophyll ability that boosts its speed in sun. And Lilligant also gets a move called After You. Whatever target Lilligant chooses, usually Torkoal, it will move directly after the Lilligant. So a very fast Lilligant can then cause a Torkoal to fire off incredibly powerful sun-boosted eruptions and heat waves. For Mirab, this is actually a very interesting
thing for him.
For Mirab, this is actually a very interesting matchup, right? He has that Smeargle to... I don't even know what Smeargle's going to do here.
Well, my guess is, since it can't run Dark Void anymore, as we talked about, it's probably going to be running Spore. And looking at his sheet, we can actually see that he's running a Smeargle that actually did pretty well as well at Brazil, with a set of Spore, Wide Guard, Follow Me, and Fake Out, giving a lot of disruption options. Follow Me and Fake Out also being a great way to just protect your teammates.
All right, so Ashton going to lead that Lilligant, Torkoal, and Mirab going to lead Nihilego, Smeargle.
I can't help but think that Mirab is planning to try and Spore away that Torkoal, make it no longer a threat.
But here's your concern, right? That Torkoal, with Lilligant's After You, it can immediately fire off an incredibly powerful fire move in the sun, right?
Yeah, that is definitely a threat that Mirab needs to watch for. But I think that given his Smeargle, I can't see any other item other than Focus Sash, and it could still pull that off. And it just has to ask Mirab, is that trade worthwhile in his head?
On the other hand, the Nihilego is incredibly threatening to the Torkoal and the Lilligant. Nihilego, that Poison and Rock type being super effective against Torkoal, and Poison type being super effective against the Lilligant.
And we see Ashton decides to play this very defensively, protecting with both his Pokemon, try and get a read on what Mirab's going for. Whereas Mirab just goes for a Follow Me to drag moves to a Smeargle and a Sludge Bomb into the Torkoal slot, trying to get some damage in there.
Oh, I forgot about this. I forgot Miracle got Smoothie. It's bringing back flashbacks, Sean.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it is bringing back flashbacks. That is a very frustrating ability to deal with. But Mirab didn't get anything very notable there. He got a special attack increase and a defense drop. Neither of Ashton's Pokemon are physical attackers, so that defense drop isn't going to matter. And Smeargle isn't packing any damaging moves other than Fake Out, which isn't going to be usable or get boosted by special attack. So that Moody basically wasn't relevant at all. Ashton now goes for a Sleep Powder, putting to sleep that Nihilego, letting his Torkoal do some actions without fear of anything coming out. Without fear of anything coming out from Nihilego.
Guys.
And unfortunately, I lost camera view of the stream, so I can't see what else is happening right now.
Sorry, guys. It looks like the stream is frozen a little. We're not totally sure what's going on.
We can see Smeargle's Moody going off again, getting a defense increase and a special defense drop, and we know Nihilego is now asleep, taking a bit of damage, expecting an eruption out of that Torkoal.
Well, I don't know exactly what happened on that turn, but whatever happened, it looks like Ashton is in a great position. He has Torkoal and Lilligant at full health. Neither are asleep. Mirab's Nihilego is asleep, and his Smeargle is at 1 HP.
My only guess could be Smeargle went for some sort of... my guess would have been Smeargle going for some sort of Follow Me play, but we didn't see that come out at the start of the match, so I guess it went for a Spore, but somehow the Torkoal was able to ignore it.
One possibility is I don't know what item Ashton runs on his Torkoal. It's possible he could be running something like safety goggles.
But this time we see Mirab expecting the second eruption, going for a Wide Guard with his Smeargle, trying to protect from it, but instead Ashton swaps out his Torkoal and Leaf Storms to take out take out the Smeargle, whereas Marab gets the second turn wake up and gets the Sludge Bomb into Lilligant, trading 1-for-1 and getting a special attack beast boost.
One of the scariest things about Nihilego is the beast boost ability. In fact, all the Ultra Beasts, right?
Yeah, beast boost really lets an Ultra Beast get rolling. As soon as they get started, they just get more and more powerful and bigger threats.
Oh, for sure, especially on such a fast threat like Nihilego.
And we see Ashton now brings in his Snorlax off the switch and his Pheromosa, and Marab responds with his Arcanine, getting Intimidate, lowering the attack of both Snorlax and Pheromosa, which could be very big for his defensive capabilities coming up.
Now, one interesting thing is we didn't see Focus Sash on Ashton's Lilligant, which leads me to believe that his Pheromosa might have it. One important thing about that is that it allows Ashton to play around that Arcanine, possibly trying to prevent the Pheromosa from taking out the very powerful Nihilego. Meanwhile, Snorlax isn't particularly threatened by either of these two Pokemon.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see if it decides to Belly Drum or just try and go for some damage.
Yeah. Marab going to protect his Nihilego, while Ashton goes for the Fighting Z move, all-out pummeling. Probably into that Nihilego spot, reading the Protect would be my guess.
I don't actually know if this is going to KO, but Nihilego has very bad defense.
No, it's into the Arcanine instead. Dealing a lot, probably going to deal a lot of damage, but I expect Arcanine to be able to hold on.
Oh my god!
Doesn't, though.
Oh my god, that is some major damage. Was that a critical hit? That was not a critical hit?
I don't see a critical hit.
Oh my god!
That's a massive amount of damage then, which means that the Arcanine out of Marab must be not very bulky compared to average after the attack drop on Pheromosa.
Well, another thing is that we saw Ashton get a special attack boost.
Which
I wonder if
me.
he maybe is running Focus Blast. I'm not totally sure if Pheromosa gets
that
move.
would be... Yeah, that would be interesting.
Traditionally, they run a lot of high jump kick.
Yeah, that is exactly what I expected when I saw the Fighting Z move come out. But
with that amount of damage on an intimidated Pheromosa, you have to wonder just what sort of move Ashton's packing behind that Fighting Z move.
And Marab now brings in his Garchomp, which does pose an offensive threat against both of these, but it is threatened equally by the Pheromosa, which should be faster and be able to deal a good amount to Garchomp. And we see the Ice Beam, the +1 Ice Beam coming out onto that Garchomp, and it's not going to have a great day with that.
I don't think I've seen an HP bar drop any faster than that. That was fairly incredible.
Marab tries to bring it back with a Power Gem into Snorlax, but it only deals about half, and knowing Snorlax, it's going to eat that berry. In this case, it is eating a Papa berry.
Iapapa, there you go.
My mistake. And it's going to go for the high horsepower, taking out Nihilego, putting Ashton into a great spot, winning the game.
Wow, that was quite the showing by Ashton. I definitely did not expect the Arcanine to be taken out so quickly. We missed a couple of turns in there just with the...
So my expectation is that Marab might have went for a Sleep Powder into the Lilligant spot, expecting a switch, or forgetting about the grass type, the Spore into the Lilligant spot. Because as far as I can think, that's the only thing that would have ended up in that board state that we saw after the freeze.
Another possibility would be Ashton flamethrowered into the Smeargle, or Heat Waved the two of them. I can't totally piece it together.
Well, yeah, I expect he went for an Eruption or Heat Wave because he hit both targets and both took a good amount of damage.
Right.
But I'm wondering what the Smeargle did with its turn because we didn't see the Follow Me or Wide Guard out of it, and there's no reason to go for a Fake Out. So that means he would have went for the Spore, but the Torkoal being awake.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit odd.
But Marab clearly knows what he's going to do for Game 2, already standing by. Ashton putting a bit more thought into it, trying to decide if he wants to stay with the same lead that worked pretty well for him, or if he expects Marab to be able to respond to it better and aim for some sort of plan.
So one thing I was talking about a little bit earlier, but we got cut off by the match. I was talking about how powerful I think Weather is, and I really think Ashton's shown that Torkoal and Lilligant together can just do so much damage and shut down so many Pokemon. Specifically, that Sleep Powder from Lilligant really shutting down that Nihilego for a couple of turns, allowing Torkoal to get off lots of powerful, consistent damage. And
at the same time, that's kind of scary to be relying on if you're Ashton. Like, it has a greater than 50% accuracy, but it still won't always get you there.
All right.
And we see Ashton completely changing it up, going with Mimikyu and Snorlax. Marab keeping his same leads as last game.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. The Mimikyu Snorlax is a lead that we've seen pretty frequently, actually. It picked up steam midway through the season. It is absolutely excellent at putting a lot of pressure on. Snorlax, the ability to belly drum under Trick Room, Snorlax being a Trick Room sweeper, is just so good and so powerful.
Go into the turn, and we see Spore coming out into the Mimikyu.
That Mimikyu moved pretty late. I'm going to assume it's a Trick Room variant.
Yeah, that looks like it's probably a Trick Room setup of some kind. And we see, which would make sense given his Torkoal and Snorlax. And Snorlax just goes for the high horsepower into the protected Nihilego, not going to do much. And Smeargle, again, not getting a very relevant Moody change. Special defense not really mattering to Snorlax or Mimikyu. And the special attack drop, again, not being important. Moody really not doing much this game, unlike the times when it's been a terror.
But that being said, Mirab just did have an excellent turn. He just got the Mimikyu to sleep. He's putting a ton of pressure on with that Smeargle threatening the Spore on the Snorlax. Snorlax is slow enough that it will not be able to move before Smeargle gets the Spore off, which we see.
Yeah, and now Mirab's in a great spot because both his opponents are sleeping and he broke the Disguise on the Mimikyu.
Disguise is a great ability, but a lot of Mimikyu's utility...
But Mimikyu gets the turn 2 wake up, seeming to be pretty common in this match so far. Everything being waking up very early, being ready and hyped for these games. And he sets up the Trick Room, making Ashton's team now faster than anything Mirab has, technically.
When I talked to Ashton and Mirab earlier, they said, we're both running Sleep, so this is probably going to be the most boring matchup you've ever seen. But with all these turn 2 wake-ups, I don't believe that is true. I'm pretty sure that we're having a lot more exciting match than initially thought.
Yeah. Rob now swaps out his Nihilego, thinking it's basically done.
Oh,
and Smeargle avoids an attack out of that Mimikyu. I believe it was the Play Rough?
Play Rough. Play Rough
has a 10% miss chance, and sometimes that's just the things you take. And Smeargle is the evasiveness boost, the kind of thing that it's known for getting. This is why Moody is such a scary ability, getting +2 evasiveness. That Smeargle is going to be very hard to hit, even harder than that 10% off the previous Play Rough.
I mean,
going to give Ashton a lot of trouble, probably.
I mean, one of the biggest things about Moody is that evasion boost and that accuracy boost. The instant Smeargle is able to get speed, accuracy, or evasion...
I don't think accuracy is even that big of a deal anymore, because you aren't running Dark Void, you're running Spore.
For sure, but even still, that evasion boost is just so powerful for Smeargle. Smeargle's just going to be able to consistently fire off Spore after Spore after Spore, and hitting it's going to be so tough.
And Marab's taking these sleeping turns to set up a Swords Dance on his Garchomp, making it a very big threat. With Moody again giving an evasiveness boost, this Smeargle not going to go anywhere. Getting 2 defense drops, though, so any hit will take it out if they actually manage to land.
Yeah, but managing to land is the tough part.
Of course.
You've ever seen fear in a player's face when they have to target down a +4 evasion Smeargle?
Though, Ashton is now on the 4th turn of sleep, I believe, for the Snorlax, so it should be waking up, being able to put some sort of pressure. It doesn't have a belly drum set up, and Garchomp does have +2 attack, so it's still a scary spot, but Ashton can finally take this turn to start bringing it back. Marab, knowing this, going for a follow me, making Snorlax target into the Smeargle instead of the Garchomp. Smeargle waking up, going for return, and Smeargle just avoids it. As expected, based on those evasive moves, Mimikyu's still going to doze off, and Garchomp now going for the Z move.
Oh, I love the ground Z move. You send them into the literal core of the earth at +2 with the Swords Dance Garchomp.
Yeah, I see this taking down absolutely anything Ashton has on the board right now.
Looking at his team, I see it taking down anything he has on his team, to be quite frank.
That's probably a fair assumption. Snorlax going down to the Tectonic Rage. Not going to wake up from that one. Fortunately, Smeargle getting a special attack drop increase and an evasive drop, giving Ashton potentially a better chance.
That's only +3. It's bad, but it's not great.
Yeah,
right?
Ashton now has a better chance of hitting, though, so maybe he can use this to come back. Tapu Lele coming in, going for getting the Psychic Surge off.
Now, I was thinking that because Ashton didn't really care if his Snorlax or Mimikyu were knocked out, he was trying to set up possibly for a Torkoal-Lilligant combo so they could ensure that that Smeargle and Garchomp wouldn't be able... He still had a fast option to take them out later. That Garchomp would be as much of a threat. But with Tapu Lele coming in, I'm not totally sure what he's trying to do. Well, it might be that he has the Pheromosa to hit Ice Beams.
Yeah. Well, the fun thing is Marab is going for a wide guard, trying to protect from a Dazzling Gleam. But Ashton's Tapu Lele is actually slower than Garchomp in Trick Room. But wide guard does read the Dazzling Gleam. Ashton not going to be able to do much that turn. And Marab taking the opportunity to go for a giant Earthquake, hitting both Tapu Lele and Mimikyu. Smeargle protecting itself also with that wide guard, performing double duty.
Oh, wow.
Dealing large amounts of damage, but not taking out either Pokemon.
I'm actually a little surprised. That probably indicates that Ashton's Tapu Lele has some pretty
Major
solid defense there, right?
Smeargle getting another evasiveness boost, now being at +5. I don't see this Pokemon ever getting hit.
You simply have to pray and hope for the best. It's incredibly tough.
And another wide guard out of Smeargle, just not wanting to deal with Dazzling Gleams. This kind of makes sense, because this Earthquake is going to do massive damage, should be enough to take out both Mimikyu and Tapu Lele, leaving only one Pokemon left for Ashton.
I can't imagine this is looking too good in Ashton's position. At this point, you have to wonder, he's down one Pokemon to 4, and I'm not saying that's not doable. I'm not saying that's not doable. But at this point, I wonder if you just forfeit to try and hide what moves you're packing, right?
But his last Pokemon is the Pheromosa, which we've already seen most of the options from. We did see it had the Fighting Z-move, and the special attack boost, which should lead Marab to also suspect the Focus Blast like you did, and also the Ice Beam. So I expect he is going to just play it out, because there's not much more information to reveal.
Fair enough. In some cases, it can come down to time, and if that's Ashton's best win condition, then, may as well play to it. Oh, the Garchomp actually hit it.
Going for an Earthquake, and Smeargle actually gets hit.
That is rather surprising with the amount of evasion boosts.
Being brought down to its Focus Sash.
Funnily enough...
Giving Ashton actually a fighting chance now, I would think.
Maybe. Funnily enough, the only thing that was able to hit the Smeargle was Marab's own Garchomp.
Yeah.
None of Ashton's Pokemon.
Pheromosa just trying to stall with Protects for Ashton. Probably hoping for another Earthquake just like that.
If he can get this Smeargle to be knocked out, we'll just have to see if it hits.
Earthquake. And Smeargle avoids the attack. Ashton dodges Protect going very low now, going for 2 in a row already.
You know what I have to say, though? Ashton really played to his out there. If his out was getting that Smeargle knocked out by Garchomp's own Earthquakes, then he played it perfectly.
Yep, and you can't blame him for trying, but this game is looking to be over unless the Protect also succeeds, and it fails. As expected, Smeargle once again going for a Follow Me, trying to bring over that attack from the Pheromosa. Garchomp goes for another Earthquake, Smeargle avoiding, and dealing good damage to the Pheromosa. I expect this should be enough to take it out.
At +2, Pheromosa does not have the defense to try and
despite being a resisted attack. Marab now bringing the games up to 1-1, evening it out, bringing it to a good third game.
That was incredible control by Marab. He knew that if he just scored everything, Ashton couldn't do too much. He was able to set up the Garchomp. He was able to just get consistent damage off with the Nihilego. And Ashton just
He also counted sleep turns well, because he followed me at the perfect time for Snorlax to wake up.
For sure. Although I have to say, one of the nicest things about the addition to Sun and Moon is there's now turn counters on the bottom screen, if you guys didn't know. They make things so much easier. counts your trick room turns. It counts the boosts and evasions that your opponent has.
I don't believe it actually counts sleep, though, because sleep's a variable turn count.
You're right. Sleep is not counted.
It's one of the few things you actually still have to count to play effectively.
You're right. I wasn't even thinking about that. So Marab actually getting a lot of mileage out of counting his sleep turns, knowing when to spore again, knowing when to follow me, and really those evasion boosts. Those are just killer.
There's not much you can do when the Smirgle will never get hit. Though, apparently at +5, you still do get hit by your allies.
Apparently. It's one of the toughest things to face.
So
evasion boosts.
Yeah. Marab's once again ready. I can't see him switching leads after that. Like, he brought the same lead after his loss.
Yeah.
It did really well for him. I can't see him changing, but we're going to see how Ashton fights against it.
If Ashton replies with his first lead, which was able to very commandingly beat Marab's Smeargle Nihilego lead, I think it might be doable.
Okay.
We saw Ashton was able to get off faster sleep than the Smeargle, which was very critical to him winning in the first game.
Okay. So we're expecting Ashton to go back to his Sun mode?
I'm not totally sure. If I was him, that's what I'd sort of be thinking. We'll have to really see how it pans out. But in my mind, getting that faster sleep off, you're in the middle of Sleep Wars, right?
Yeah,
and in Sleep Wars, whoever gets the first sleep gets the advantage, right?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. And we'll see if Ashton agrees with you. Marab once again going for the same lead, saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And Ashton, as you said, going for the Sun mode, trying to get off his own faster sleep, probably.
Lilligant is incredibly scary in the Sun. It truly is. It's able to put things to sleep. It's able to make Torkoal go faster. It oftentimes carries the Grass Z move for large damage. And then Torkoal just paired with it, setting up that Sun for the Lilligant, able to double its speed, able to get off massive damage with Eruption. They really do pair incredibly well. And it's one of the reasons why I do think Weather is one of the better options in this generation.
Yeah, indeed. And we'll see if they start similarly to the first game. And we'll see what they aim for. I'm expecting sleeps out from both. I'm just playing for hours.
Yeah, a follow me. I know earlier Ashton double protected to scout out the fake out.
Yeah. But he's not expecting it now, which Marab does not take advantage of.
Exactly. So the Nihilego is going to be able to move first. We'll see what it goes for.
Goes for a Sludge Bomb right into the Lilligant. Smeargle still falling asleep. Lilligant maybe just doing enough work anyway.
Yeah, getting that Smeargle asleep and just being able to... Ashton has answers to Nihilego. We've seen this Pheromosa is incredibly fast, and it's able to really deal with that Nihilego, right?
Yep.
It puts a lot of pressure on it. And so really ensuring that, for Ashton, he doesn't get put to sleep himself.
Ooh. Smeargle just got an evasiveness drop and a special defense boost. Special defense isn't going to matter when it's at 1 HP.
I don't think so.
That's a pretty bad moody for Marab. It means the Twinkle not the Twinkle Tackle, but the Play Rough now has no chance of missing that Smeargle like last game. Oh,
yeah, for sure. I think in this situation, Ashton has a lot of answers to that Nihilego, so I think the right play was made trying not to focus on it, trying to focus on the Smeargle, who would just impede you a lot more in this matchup.
Right. And just going for the Eruption, bringing the Smeargle down to its dash, and still dealing good damage to Nihilego. Like, there's nothing to laugh at when you bring a Pokemon down to half health.
Yes. One of the most important things, though, is that Nihilego in this case is still incredibly threatening. It got the Beast Boost, right? Ooh, and it hits into the Torkoal.
Protect.
That's going to be pretty big. That Torkoal is one of the biggest threats.
Smeargle not getting a turn 2 wake up this time, and Ashton getting off a Trick Room, now making Torkoal the fastest thing in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Able to act before anything else. Smeargle getting a special attack drop, not going to matter. And a speed drop, which is relevant. It probably is slower than the Mimikyu now, I would expect.
Probably. I've seen a couple of Mimikyus. It depends on what they're running. I know... I think I remember Gavin Michaels was running a max speed Mimikyu with his Trick Room team. Some people run max speed, some people run min speed. I still suspect the Smeargle will be slower than the Mimikyu in this case. I'm actually going to withdraw the Smeargle this time. And
not chancing the 50-50 on the wake up for turn 3 versus turn 4.
For sure. The Nihilego probably going to protect, expecting that it would die to an Eruption plus a
some attack.
Some attack from the Mimikyu.
And here's the Eruption, going to deal a good amount of damage to Garchomp still, but it does resist, so it only brings it down to about half. Shadow Claw going in to try and take out the Nihilego, but the Marab making that read earlier, as you said, with the Protect.
So now Ashton has an interesting decision, right? Do you target down the Nihilego to try and ensure that it... Because an Eruption's not going to take it down.
Yeah,
you have to double into it,
Yeah, the
right?
unfortunate thing is that Torkoal's Eruption doesn't take down either of these Pokemon. They both live. Nihilego took that amount of damage with a Life Orb hit, plus the Eruption.
Yeah.
So it will probably be taken down to... It will be taken down to any double hit, but neither of them just is gone to Eruption alone.
Yeah.
Ashton might have a single target option, though, to increase his damage slightly by not being affected by the reduction.
Possibly. I still think Eruption's stronger in the Sun. I am not totally
than an
sure
Overheat?
about it. Oh, does he carry Overheat?
It's possible. Most Torkoal I've seen do carry Overheat. But it's not going to matter because Marab doesn't want to risk his Nihilego, switches it out, and protects his Garchomp. Ashton just being fine going for another Eruption.
I think that Marab's trying to stall out Trick Room right now.
Yeah, that's very understandable, but I'm surprised that Ashton just went for the Eruption, just didn't care.
Yeah, he was probably trying to predict which Pokemon would protect itself, which Pokemon would switch, and I think he made the right call.
Yep.
The Nihilego switched out.
Well, you can't argue with the results.
Yeah, exactly.
He got a knockout on the Smeargle, and the Mimikyu couldn't do anything that turn anyway due to the Protect.
One important thing to pay attention to in this next little bit is the Mimikyu still has its disguise intact.
Yeah.
And so long as it has its disguise intact, it's very certain. It's not certain, but it's
able
very
to get
likely
whatever
to
it wants
get
set up.
Trick Room set up, right?
Yeah, it's because they have to first. The fastest Pokemon has to take out the disguise, and then the slower Pokemon needs to be strong enough to take out Mimikyu. Which
sure.
is not always the easiest thing to have set up because often your fastest Pokemon are also your hardest hitting.
Exactly. So it's a bit of a difficult situation for Marab. You're still trying to stall out that Trick Room.
And
he doesn't get the double protect.
With the Garchomp, which is going to make it take a lot of damage from this Eruption. I expect it to hang on, but just barely. Tapu Lele also barely hangs on. Shadow Claw, though, ready to take out that Tapu Lele. And Garchomp's just living with the Sliver. I can't see it being able to do much left.
The Sun's going to go away, so Torkoal is a little bit less effective now.
But I don't think it matters. Garchomp's at a sliver of health. Nihilego's at about half.
Yeah, for sure.
Nihilego still poses a threat to Torkoal, but Mimikyu should be able to clean up after that. We've got to see what Marab has in mind. I think he has to go for another turn of Protect. This last turn of Trick Room, as we can see on screen right now.
Yeah. So Garchomp going for the Protect.
Which is now guaranteed because he failed the last one.
Yep.
And Nihilego also protecting, reversing the Trick Room, and trying to see what he can get out of this. His Pokemon do now act first, though, so he does have that going for him.
For sure. Another important thing. Well, okay, we both said that you need a very powerful move to KO this Mimikyu, unless it's holding the Focus Sash, right?
Right.
That being said, I do believe Garchomp still has its Z-move intact.
This is true.
So it's not out of the question.
Yeah, and Nihilego does barely outspeed Garchomp under normal conditions, so
this
he could easily break
possible.
the disguise with the Nihilego, defeat the Mimikyu with the Garchomp, accept Torkoal's Gonna Eruption, take out your Garchomp, and hope Nihilego to clean up.
Oh, taking out the Torkoal with a Power Gem.
Not opting for the option, saying, Ashton, I'm okay if you set up Trick Room. I can still beat you.
It's a rough situation, but the Fire Fang not wanting to hit his own Nihilego with the Earthquake.
Very safe move. Also giving a chance for a burn, which could end the game.
Could turn the tides of the battle.
No
right?
burn, though.
So
or flinch, which is unfortunate for Marab, but expected most of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And getting a Trick Room up for Ashton. He's going to send in his last Pokemon, I believe?
Yes. His last Pokemon is the Snorlax. Snorlax, under Trick Room.
Yeah, it's a big threat. And I believe it can take out both. It should be able to take out both of Marab's Pokemon because we've seen the high horsepower from it.
We've seen the highest horsepower. If he targets the Nihilego and he hits it, the Nihilego is going down. That Mimikyu is slower than the Garchomp, so it can also hit into the Garchomp under Trick Room first.
Marab realizing this, just going to try and stall out Trick Room again. It's a lot of turns, but he has a chance.
He does have a chance. It's going to be tough. But it's totally possible. You know, sometimes you think
sometimes you get the less than a 1% chance, and I think that's Marab's out, so he's going to go for it.
Yep, for sure. I mean, what else can you really do in this situation?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Garchomp going for Protect, failing. Nihilego also going for Protect, also failing. Probably meaning the end of the game. Players shake hands. They believe it's the same. Snorlax just going for Return into the Nihilego. Not actually enough to take it out. Maybe giving Marab another chance.
Yeah, but at this point...
it's hard, but...
It's very difficult.
The game's not actually over.
No, I'm actually surprised by that. I think Ashton just wanted to ensure that he hit rather than risking it.
Right. High horsepower, having 90% accuracy.
Yeah.
Usually hitting, but also could result in the same scenario from last game where Play Rough just missed and cost him a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I personally remember using a lot of Heat Wave and moves that are just below 100%.
And Marab not wanting to play it out longer, realizing that the chances are so low that he's just going to give away. He's going to pass the game.
So congratulations to Ashton Cox. That puts him at 2-1.
2-0.
2-1 over Marab.
Oh, right. Sorry, 2-1 for games and 2-0 overall in matches.
Yes. So congratulations to Ashton. It looks like even without the pineapple,
he still has something going for him.
Oh, yeah. He still has something going for him. So congratulations to both players, and especially congratulations to Ashton for that really good performance, knowing that the sleep was really that deterring condition for him, getting rid of that Smeargle that really punished him.
Definitely adapting properly to the mistakes in Game 2 and bringing it back up.
I'm excited to see how Marab keeps doing. His team is certainly interesting, and it's odd to see Smeargle in this metagame.
Yeah, the only Smeargle I believe I've seen was also in the top 8 from the Latin American International Championship.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've seen placed at all. So, but Marab doesn't seem to care. He's willing to bring this all the way.
For sure. One of the things that I really like, we talked about earlier the Eevee teams, and we said how they were a little bit like Smeargle. You need to prepare for them. And I think I mentioned that Smeargle is a little bit less consistent now because it doesn't get that Dark Void. It doesn't, Tapu Koko and Tapu Fini both prevented Spore.
There's a lot of answers that people have built into their teams by default.
Yeah. And one thing that's actually really surprising, though, and that I really like about Marab's team, is that he pairs that Smeargle with the Nihilego. Nihilego threatens both the Tapu Fini and the Tapu Koko really well.
In fact, all the Tapus, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, so he can really get a lot of mileage out of that by forcing the Tapus not necessarily to get their terrains up and prevent Smeargle from really disrupting it and doing what it does best.
Well, it clearly worked for him in round 1. Unfortunately, he did not get the game this time.
Yeah, for sure. Ashton played that incredibly well. Recognizing his win conditions, hitting those sleep powders with Lilligant. Sleep powder is a bit of a shaky move, but if you have to go for it,
it still gives. If a sleep powder determines whether or not you win, it's still higher than 50%.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
If all my wins were sleep powder % accuracy, I'd be pretty happy with myself, to be perfectly honest.
For sure, it's 75%, so accuracy, so it's a decent chance. You can miss, and it can be frustrating, and you can say, "Oh, why did I lose the game?" Do that. But if your best option is the sleep powder, go for it.
Anyway, we'll be right back where Abe will be interviewing Ashton Cox, the winner of our last game and the champion of the recent Latin America International Championship.
With Ashton Cox, winner of the last round. Congratulations, first and foremost. You played very well out there. You recognized your win conditions, and it was just a really good match. So I wanted to ask you, you've been running a rather... not unconventional team, but you're running, weather, Sun specifically. That's a team we haven't seen as much of. How do you feel about Sun's place in the metagame right now?
Well, I feel like the team as a whole is kind of complicated, and a lot of people think it's really flowcharty. Like you lead Sun, you after you sleep powder, you do all these things, and it's a lot more complicated than that. And I feel like a lot of people don't look into it as much and just assume that it's not that good because they overlook how how complicated you can get with the plays to make them better.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed you had the Mimikyu, you had the Snorlax. You could set up Trick Room, you could unset up Trick Room.
Yeah.
You can go fast mode, you can go slow mode, you have pheromones. Like there's 500 different ways to do it, and they're all incredibly powerful. And so I know you love the Snorlax Mimikyu.
Yeah.
We have here we have Snorlax and Mimikyu plushes.
Absolutely the best.
They're giving us moral support here at the commentary booth.
Jake, this is yours. I took it. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you got a shout out?
Yeah. Well, Jake gave me this.
Oh, nice.
And I forgot to give it back to him at Virginia, so I have this, just so you know, in case you were wondering.
Awesome. So I know we were talking on stream while this was going on. We saw some really interesting choices from you. I know you're really well known for making interesting choices.
Yeah.
Heliolith Sawk from 2014, I remember.
Yeah.
So this team is a little bit more standard. How is that for you? Because I know you've said before, like, I'm not a standard guy, right?
Yeah. Well, this team it's not really standard because a lot of people don't use it, but it's more good Pokemon rather than the weird things I used to use. But I have told people that it's a pretty good team, and nobody's ready for it, and they still aren't. It's been like 3 weeks, but nobody's ready for it still. And I don't really like running the team just because it's super, like you said, standard, kind of standard. But nobody's ready for it. It's the best team I can use right now.
Yeah, I actually felt like that. We were talking. I feel like no one's been really ready for weather. Tommy Cooling doubled up to 3 internationals, and he top cut 3 of them,
all
right?
Of them,
So I feel like people aren't ready. How did you actually feel going into the matchup against Mirab? You knew he had Smeargle, right?
Yeah. Well, he was running that one version of Ian's team.
Yeah.
And I knew that Smeargle, Lilligant, they battle with sleep.
Yeah.
So it would come down to who got the sleep on the right Pokemon, who slept longer, who slept less. And Game 3 luckily played out just like I wanted it to, with getting rid of the Pokemon, getting Mimikyu in, and sleeping the Smeargle. So that was exactly how I hoped it would be.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a war of sleeps in this case.
Yeah.
Whoever
definitely.
can lock out the other person's sleep first can really take the advantage.
Yeah.
Right?
Smeargle just has a little more of the advantage because they can't miss. I can miss. If I miss, I lose.
Yeah.
So I was lucky that I hit the 2 sleep powders I fired off. So.
Now, one thing I was talking a lot about is with sleep, we have a lot of new Pokemon that set terrains that prevent sleep. So specifically, I know Smeargle has a bit more trouble now. How does it feel playing Lilligant facing off against stuff like Tapu Koko, Tapu Fini that really shut down your sleep?
Well, one of the nice things about that is if they do bring that Tapu Koko or Tapu Fini, I have the Gracium Z on Lilligant, which actually one-shots both of them. So that's nice. It baits my opponents into thinking that they need it for the matchup, and then it kind of usually lets me get a free KO, or it doesn't have enough damage output versus some of my guys. But I also have the Lele there, and the Lele is to get rid of the terrains.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you noticed if I switch out Torkoal, I'll get my terrain up last, so then I can get the sleep powder off.
For sure. Yeah, it's something a lot of people don't realize is everyone's really concerned about speed in VGC and making sure that your speeds are on point. Gigalith versus Torkoal versus who sets up the weather, who sets up the terrain is critical. Yeah. So I really have to congratulate you. It was an incredibly well-played game. You recognized the sleep wing condition, and you played to it. I know it was a little bit lucky there in game 2 with the evasions.
I was actually, the turns that Mimikyu was asleep, I was going for Psych Up on his Smeargle just to make the game worse. Like, I had nothing to lose at that point. I figured, if he's doing this to me, I'll do it to him. So, but it never happened.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, that would have been
so funny.
Way more funny match to commentate.
Oh, that would have gone on for hours. But
that was great. So congratulations for sure. Good luck in the next couple of rounds. And
Thank you,
if you have any more shout-outs to give.
Well, I got the idea from Corey because it was pretty good, but shout out to my mom for taking us this weekend because, it's Mother's Day weekend, and we're here at a Pokemon event. So.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.